Okay, just keep it together. Hi everybody, Aamaris here with a little walkthrough of how I built my DDR pad. Y'all go ahead and read these materials while I groove to this music. Okay, step one was of course the planning stage. After doing a lot of research and getting some helpful advice from a coworker, the final plan was to create a copper tape ground circuit for the steps directly on the board, then attach the tops of the steps to the board with Velcro. The final layer in my little DDR sandwich would be another 3 foot by 3 foot sheet of LEXAN, which was also held in place by Velcro. As you can see, I had originally planned to do the arrow design as this really complex copper circuit, but it was just too much. Alright, time to get to work. I went to Home Depot and had some 1/2 inch thick MDF cut into a 3 foot by 3 foot square. Then I had a 1/4 inch thick piece cut into an 11 by 11 inch square. I glued the smaller piece to the middle of the larger one with wood glue, then I coated them with spray shellac before using some navy blue spray paint. Now this coating wasn't super even, but I let the imperfection go since it wouldn't be visible in the end and I had already used up my whole can of spray paint, but you know it bugged me. Time to prepare the steps. So the tops of the step circuits needed to be 11 by 11 inches, but the pieces I bought only came in 12 by 12 inch squares, so that means I had to cut them, which I did using a plastic scoring blade. Time to measure. I measured 1 inch around all the edges for the Velcro that would hold the top down. Then I left a 1/2 inch space between that and where the small pieces of LEXAN would go. Inside the spaces for the LEXAN steps, I measured an additional 1/2 inch for the Velcro that would hold them in place, which left 10 solid inches of pure copper goodness on top of each step for maximum DDR responsiveness. Copper circuits! My circuits were made out of 3 inch wide copper tape with conductive adhesive. Now it's very important that the adhesive is conductive to make sure you have a reliable circuit, especially if you're going to be folding the tape over on itself or connecting or filling in sections of the circuit later, all of which I did. That finished circuit is fly and nobody can tell her anything. She is fly and she knows it. To complete the circuit and make the steps work, we've got to lay some copper on the LEXAN top steps, as you can see. Alright guys, it just got real. Time for the control box. Okay, so I got some kind of special fancy screws that were really inexpensive actually, so that I could drill some holes into my blue translucent box for the buttons and my Nutrix RJ45 pass-through, I think it's called. And here is the brain of the DDR pad, the multi-console Cthulhu, I don't know how to pronounce it. So basically, I had to solder the end of a Cat6 cable to the Cthulhu so that I could connect it to the RJ45 pass-through, which would then allow me to have different cords for the control box for the pad so that it could work on multiple systems. So these cords have an Ethernet jack on one end and, you know, like a PS2 controller or a USB on the other so that I can plug it into multiple systems. Time to lay down some Velcro. Okay, so I laid down the Velcro for each individual step just before I started doing the wiring, which is coming up next, guys. Oh, wiring. Okay, so I thought I was being slick by just using an Ethernet cord that I have around the house and just cutting that open and using the wires in there and using that to, you know, wire up the steps, but I ended up rewiring it later, spoiler alert, with some thicker, heavier wires because these were kind of fragile anyway. But so there we go, doing all the wiring all the way around the board. Thought I was being slick, ended up being a fail, but that's okay. You live and you learn. And here's the process of attaching the wires to the top of the step. Alright, so the basic idea of how to wire this pad is that for each of the top parts of the steps, you're going to want to have a wire that is connected to the copper on the top of the step, which for me, I did by just using more copper tape and exposing the copper in the wire and just kind of taping it to the copper. Then you would take that wire and you would run it into the control box and into the Cthulhu, and you would put that wire into the corresponding port on the Cthulhu. So if you're wiring the up arrow step, you would then take that wire and you would connect it to the up port on the Cthulhu. And the Cthulhu comes with a little guide that shows you what each port corresponds to. So anyway, the ground circuit would have a wire that goes into one of the mini ground ports on the Cthulhu. Then when you step on one of your buttons, up, down, left, right, whatever, the circuit is completed and the step registers, and now you got DDR, boo-boo. So I wasn't able to get the ground wire into the whole bundle inside the Ethernet cord, so I just kind of taped it to the outside of the Ethernet cord so it would hopefully kind of stay together with it. But that all ended up changing anyway, so it was a bunch of wasted time. I went all the way down this cord. Grr. Time to lay down more Velcro. So in order to keep all the wires neat and secure, my original plan was to put the edge Velcro on top of the wires, which ended up being a problem later. Look at that happy thumb, just blissfully unaware. I also added Velcro to the edges of the large sheet of LEXAN that's going to go on top of the pad. Testing! So I decided to connect the DDR pad to the game just to kind of see, make sure the steps were registering, and they were, but when I tried to play it, it was kind of slow. So that leads to rewiring. And I thought that the lag that I was experiencing was because maybe the wires were too thin in order to carry the signal. I don't know. So I decided to get a thicker gauge wire, which is the 20 gauge wire, and rewire the whole pad. So I had to tear it all up, all of that beautiful, neat work, and rewire the pad. It was so hard pulling those wires out from under that Velcro. It was hurting my fingers. I was sad. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that tragedy. Betrayal. So the process of rewiring is exactly the same as the first time I wired it, except with more reliable wires, not gonna betray me in the future. This time I decided not to put it under the Velcro, just in case I have to replace a wire in the future. So I know I'm throwing all this shade at the little baby Ethernet wires that I used before, but I found out later that maybe it wasn't the wires, and maybe the delay I was experiencing was because I was using a PS2 on an HD TV, so you kind of have to mess with the timing. But I don't regret rewiring it because I feel like these will be more sturdy wires than the little thin ones I was using before. Now, so that I can tell which wire is what step, I decided to paint them with nail polish because these wires are all the same colors, either black or red. So there I painted the end with some nail polish. You couldn't really tell what color that was, but they're all painted with nail polish. It kind of flakes off, but whatever, it'll work. It'll work for me right now. So in order to kind of contain all these wires and not have them all flopping around, I decided to try some heat shrink tubing, and supposedly it was supposed to shrink with a hairdryer. It was supposed to be able to work with a hairdryer, but that didn't, it was kind of booty. It didn't really work that well with the hairdryer, but you know, I made it work. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. I made it work. I tried to burn it at one point, which was not a good idea, and I quickly was like, no, let me not burn this with some fire. Let me just toe the line with this hairdryer, and eventually it kind of shrunk, so I guess it technically sort of worked. Because the wires were larger, I had to make the hole in my control box larger so that I could fit them into the box, and there's the wiring, fresh and new. The larger wires were also causing ghost steps because there's not much clearance between the top of the step and the ground. So I just put some electrical tape to prevent it from, you know, activating the circuit. My smart coworker suggested that I test the connection by connecting a little cheap 99-cent store flashlight to each of the steps and pressing on the steps to check the circuit to see how responsive they are. This test revealed that any lag I was experiencing was not the mat's fault, but was something in the game. So I did some more research, and that's when I found out that there is a lag when playing PS2 on an HD TV. As I tested this mat, I was worried about causing strain on the wires because the control box would be flopping around, and when I stored it, it might just kind of flop over the edge of the mat. So I decided to stabilize it using a piece of clear acrylic and some of the leftover Velcro that I had. And even though it's kind of busted looking, a little bit janky looking, it does the job. And by this time, I was like, I just want it to work. I don't care as much how it looks as how it works. So I'm sure you guys saw my video on how I created the mat art, and if not, I will leave a link in the description box below. But basically I had it printed on some adhesive vinyl, and I tested it by just kind of taping it to the board, but in the end I decided not to use the art on the board because I just liked kind of being able to see into the board and maybe diagnose any problems right away as opposed to having to guess and then pull it up. I mean, I didn't really care for the art on the mat. Time to play DDR, yeah! Hi everyone, this is Aamaris, just giving a play demo for my DDR mat. Alright, here we go. Let's see what we're gonna play. I'm not like, I don't know if you hear me, but I'm not like a super great DDR master. You know what? I might do this one, and yes, I'm gonna do it on light because it's more fun on light, but let's see how many feet it is on standard. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys watch me fail this. Or kind of stumble around. Let's try it on standard.
Second stage.
Let's try it on standard, bitches! Oh my gosh, I thought I was gonna fail. I'm really goofy when I play, by the way, guys. Oh, come on. Come on. Okay, just keep it together. Okay, to stay alive, that's what we're trying to do here. Stay alive, bitches. Stay alive. Stay alive.
Wow! It's a new record.
Alright, shut up. I know it's actually
select music.
It's a new record, apparently. It's doing that I'm a little bit better at. Let's see this one. Let's see.
Third stage.
Failing makes me tired.
Everybody's watching you. Absolutely wonderful.
Well, I can play some DDR.
Wow!
Alright.
It's a new record.
That was my play sample. Thanks for watching. Okay guys, so here are some pros and cons about this mat and the process of building it. I'm going to start with the cons because I want to end on a positive note. So the first con is that I have access problems on PS3 and PC, and I think that for the PS3 at least, the Cthulhu might be being read as a joystick or something rather than a pad. so it's not doing the axis override when I play DDR. I'm not sure if there's different programming required in newer generation systems for axis override, or if there is specific programming for dance pads. For the PCs, I'm still looking for workarounds on the PC, maybe some key mapping programs or something like that, because Stepmania is not doing the axis override for whatever reason. My next con is that this ended up being more expensive than I initially expected, because I decided to go with maybe some higher quality materials that, of course, you know, cost more money. But my hope is that this will last a really, really, really long time, and in the end be worth the cost, which I'm not going to share because I actually don't know how much I spent on this, because I stopped counting after a certain amount. But I'll probably guess maybe somewhere, well, I know it was higher than $150, which was my original estimate. My third con is that the design is maybe not as neat and elegant as I was hoping it would be, and that's just because of, you know, issues with functionality that needed to be rectified. So I went with function over form. And my last con is that it's just a little bit heavy. You know, the MDF is kind of heavy, and I did drop it on my toe at one point, and girl, that hurt. I had a bruise on my toe for like 3 days after that. But yeah, it's sturdy though. Okay, now my pros. So my first pro is that it works perfectly on PS2. It's very responsive, which works for me because I have quite a few PS2 DDR games. So, you know, even if it never works on PS3 or PC, this should hold me for a while, I think. Okay, so my next pro is that it is very sturdy. Yes, it's heavy, but it's sturdy, and I believe that I chose materials that will last a long time and won't deteriorate as quickly as maybe some of the foam pads and things that you can buy on the market. So my next pro is that I can repair it if necessary, or I can build another one if I want to, because now I have the knowledge of how to do it. So my next pro is that this was really fun for me to do. I generally like to do DIYs, and this was another fun project to do that resulted in a really nice product. If it's not visually nice, at least it's functionally nice. My next pro is that I learned a lot of new skills that I didn't know before, like circuit making and soldering, and it's really fun and exciting to learn new things. So yes, that is definitely a pro of doing this project. And my last pro is that it just freaking works, bro. It works. I built a DDR pad that works. You know, of course, there are things that I would change if I were to do this again, little modifications that I would make to streamline it. But at the end of the day, I built a game controller, which is not something that I thought I would be able to do, and it's very satisfying. And I would recommend it to anybody who's interested. So thank you for watching this video, and if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are not yet part of our nerdy tribe, please hit that subscribe button so that we can be friends. Okay, see you next time. Bye! Hi, everybody!
Hello! Thanks for watching our video. And if you enjoyed it, please remember to click the like button below and subscribe for more LittleNerdyAX action in the future. Also, don't forget to leave any comments and share it with your friends. We will see you next time. See you later, Space Cowboy.
Boom, you got that one.